Most people still experience crypto as fragmented. Wallets here, exchanges there, and a whole lot of friction in between. Kelghe D'Cruz is trying to change that. He's the founder of Pairs, a platform that blends DeFi and CeFi into one place, aiming to give users actual ownership, real rewards, and fewer hoops to jump through. Kelghe, welcome to Token for Your Thoughts.
Hey, Lindsay, thank you for having me. This is cool. I think you're one of the first interviews I'm doing.
Oh my gosh, okay.
I've been around this space for a very long time, and this is probably one of the first. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's awesome. Glad we could host you then for your first. So your journey is interesting. I see that you started in healthcare, or you've been involved in healthcare companies. So it would be great if you can give us a little bit of a background on your story and how you went from healthcare to crypto. And I see you've also built several other companies in crypto. So yeah, get us up to speed.
Yeah, I will. I got into crypto like on a personal hobby basis back in 2013.
Okay.
Um, Super early, I used to mine Dogecoin 2013, 2014
Oh,
in
really?
my basement. Yep, in my basement.
Okay.
And my wife was like, "What the hell are you guys doing?" Like, we're doing some crazy things.
Oh, I can
Um,
imagine.
so I used to mine Dogecoin and sell it on eBay. Back
Ah,
then, we classified it as a unique or exquisite coin. Uh,
okay.
I think that flew under the radar for a while until I think he goes like, "You can't do this anymore," and they basically just delisted some of our listings. But yeah, 100,000 Dogecoin a day. That's what we used to sell for around $300.
Wow.
Today's market price for that is about $30,000. So
Oh my
$30,000
gosh.
day in, day out selling crypto.
Wow.
And then it's nuts. And then Mt. Gox happened in 2014 towards the end of that. And that's when I said, "Oh, this thing's a scam." And I got out.
Oh.
Very unfortunate. I should have just kept going, but that kind of taught me the lesson, just keep pushing through.
Hmm.
Um, and this was around the time when I was running my healthcare company. So the healthcare company was an education platform that had very um, complex nursing topics that we used to teach these nursing students in their schools. So we'd have subscriptions with these universities, and then the instructors for these universities would assign this curriculum to their students. And I don't come from a nursing background. I come from a tech background. I like
Hmm.
building stuff. So this is one of the things that I built. And I ended up selling it around 2020. Um, that kind of brought in the education mindset into what I
Yeah.
initially set off on this journey for crypto was.
Hmm.
Um, and just stepping back as well, during that education process, we'd get a lot of inquiries from schools and hospitals saying, "Hey, can you build this? Can you build that?" Um,
Okay.
and at that point, I was working on some AI technology that was being implemented on the scheduling side for a hospital. And I said, "Dude, crypto is missing AI." This was in 2017. I was so early.
Wow. That is so
Um,
early.
the white paper I wrote, basically the machine learning stuff on there, if I had ChatGPT back then, it would have been, crazy. But this is
Hmm.
all pre anything mainstream. The white paper still floats around, but that was initially my go-to for crypto. How do I step into this space and make it a lot more usable, especially coming in from the mining side of things, where
Hmm.
I still find it very complicated for the mining part. People have launched their own nodes and stuff like that, even though there's infrastructure to help people do that. But the point is, if I can combine AI and a trading platform and these services built around crypto, it would make adoption a lot easier, right? And these are all things
Hmm.
that everyone was going through. Uh, because if you were in crypto back in those days, you couldn't work with a bank. Like you couldn't open up a business account that was related to crypto. They shut it down, and
Right.
horror stories on shutting down, your personal bank accounts. So if you had a mortgage,
Hmm.
good luck. If you were
Yeah.
flagged as crypto back then, and uh, you could, you know, not be in danger, but life could be really hard if you were caught out
Hmm.
being a crypto company with a bank. Anyway, so these sort of hurdles that we faced, I thought putting together what I wanted to put together would make not just my life easier, but for everybody else in crypto, whether it be people
Hmm.
trading or businesses that wanted to launch their crypto arms. So
Hmm.
2017, 2018, that was the first. I'm giving you the whole journey, Lindsay.
Yeah, no, it sounds like a good story. So yeah,
Okay.
give it all.
Um, So the 2017 journey, and when I said, okay, cool, now I think I'm ready for crypto on a professional level, and I
Hmm.
had access to some tools, and ICOs were super hot back then. So I kind of said, I'm going to raise some money. I'm going to build this super app that did it all. Day one, when I announced that I was doing a raise, I raised like 250K. Um,
Oh, right. Wow.
and I was on a panel in Toronto, and there was an SEC lawyer sitting beside me on the panel, and she basically said, "You can do everything you think is right, but if they want to make a poster child of you, they can and they will." So
Oh,
that kind of put the maybe we shouldn't do this race. Um,
oh, wow.
and that day I kind of stepped back, said, "You know what? I'm not ready to do a raise.
Hmm.
Let me get a few things in place." So basically, a couple of people that invested, returned their money, and then kickstarted it off on a bootstrap level. So
Okay.
just self-funded this little little project, and I had one developer by my side, and we grew it. We grew it to about 30,000 user base back in 2020. And my
Wow.
two co-founders jumped on board, Anastasia and Darren.
Hmm.
Um, and then basically raised some funds, got some licenses, grew the team, grew the tech, continued building. And Anastasia took the lead. Um,
Hmm.
at that point, we were called Blockbank. So Blockbank basically had the word bank in there. I was in the process of getting my IFE license, which is the International Financial Entity License out of Puerto Rico. But then there were some rules changed, and it was going to take a very long time to get that license to be able to call ourselves a bank. Um,
Okay.
yeah. So in that process, we ended up getting into MasterCard's incubator out in Europe. And I'm pretty sure
Nice.
you have heard this whole story through Anna. So she led that whole MasterCard initiative. And I basically sat there twiddling my thumbs for a couple of years, going, okay, cool, like helping out, whether it be an agreement with the government that we were working on, I'd sort of step in and I'd do things like that. So I was kind of sidelined, um, watching the business grow and just networking and,
Hmm.
building my relationships essentially, right?
Hmm.
This is a very relationship based business, and it's a very small industry too. So basically spent a few years focusing on building my personal brand with people. So
Hmm.
um, earlier this year, I ended up taking over the retail arm and separating it and calling it Pairs. That was the birth of Pairs. Um,
Okay. Got it.
because sorry, let me step back a little bit. Fidium was more focused on institutional products, B2B,
Yeah.
um, reg tech kind of tools for
Hmm.
financial entities. I saw the retail community suffering a little bit because we were building for them initially.
Yeah.
So I took over and been building Paris for the last 3 months. It's been a hell of a journey, and I'll only tell you a bit about Paris, unless you have any questions. My history.
Yeah, no. We obviously had Anastasia on the show a few weeks ago. It's just not
Okay.
published yet, but she mentioned about its Vidium started as retail and now it focuses on the institutional B2B side. So, but I didn't realize that the retail aspect was taking a new you know lease of life with pairs. So that's awesome. It kind of completes that story.
Yeah, look, I like retail a lot. It's a massive market.
Hmm.
Um, and it still faces a lot of issues, right? So on the fragmented side of things, there's so many different apps out there, but it's still very complicated. I feel it's
Hmm.
complicated, because there's so many
Yeah.
things coming out. I'm like, the hell is this thing? And There's all
Mm-hmm.
these yield generating farming tools and it's interesting things, but to get access to it is super complicated. You've got to go on one blockchain, buy something, move it over, bridge it over to another blockchain, which is another app,
Mm-hmm.
um, and then buy this asset. Like, okay, what if it was just so simple where you can just buy it from here and then do whatever you want in the back end and buy this asset sitting all the way over here with a single click? So that was my motivation. Like, how do I improve the current usability for how do I improve the retail market's adoption is a lot
Mm-hmm.
easier for everyone, right?
Yeah.
And that was kind of my motivation to take it over. One of my motivations. Um, so I did. It's been interesting. Communities are, uh, it's a love-hate relationship. Sometimes they love you, sometimes they hate you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my comment
Yes.
earlier is for us to run a crypto business, I think we're all a bit uh, extra, let's call it that.
Yes.
Because the journey
Yeah,
is interesting. It's tough. Yep.
absolutely. Yeah. Challenges. I think you do need grit, you need perseverance, for sure.
Patience
Builds
too. Lindsay, I've
character.
been,
Yeah.
I think I was talking for like the last 10 minutes and
No,
you
but
didn't get a word in.
no, but yeah, that's it's a really interesting journey. I mean, it's always I always like hearing about people's stories when they've started in, industries a bit different to crypto. A lot of people start maybe in finance or um, you know, developing. So it's always interesting to hear. So you went from healthcare and then, yeah, decided to make an industry change and come into crypto, and you built, several projects. So yeah, it makes, I guess, you very well positioned to start something new. You've kind of seen a lot of the problems as you've described. So yeah, let's just talk about pairs. So give us an overview of the platforms. You've mentioned some of the problems that we all experience. How is Pairs solving those?
So the main thing about pairs is the mindset of how do I make everything happen on one single platform without having the user sort of switch or have to jump from one app to another, right? How
Mm-hmm.
do we keep them within this journey on a single platform? Um, and I'm talking about the trading side, the banking side, and even the knowledge side of things, right? So
Oh, mm-hmm.
the the first step of what we're doing was to build out this cross-chain, multi-chain DEX, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that is the ability to have ETH sitting on your MetaMask and buy an asset sitting on Bear Chain, or even Dogecoin. So something new is coming out in Dogecoin. They're building out their own chain, which is kind of cool. I'll talk about that in a second.
Right.
Um, but the ability to have someone move funds from one chain to another chain without making it complicated.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there's a few other platforms out there that do this, but this is where the history of what I've been building comes into play,
Mm-hmm.
um, which is the banking rails, right? So the first thing is the cross-chain, multi-chain DEX, and the other is implementing all these banking services around it. So things like we give you an IBAN account for our EU users. We give you a bank account for our North American users. This
Okay.
is in phase two, which we're building out right now.
Ah.
Let me rephrase. Not building out. I'm re-implementing all of these things and repackaging it into this single platform.
Mm-hmm.
So bank accounts, Visa debit cards and Mastercard cards, so that
Okay.
you get your bank account. If you want to spend the funds that you've generated from trading these meme coins, you can do
Mm-hmm.
so in a single click. Picture
Nice.
sell your meme coin, top up your bank account, all in just one click, right?
Yeah.
Um, that's what I'm kind of pairing together: the centralized services, the decentralized services into one. That's what
Right.
pairs is like. I
Okay.
love the name. I love the brand. I kind of have this
Y-
little soft spot for it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good name. That sums it up perfectly. Okay, so on the CeFi side then, so Pairs is essentially its own bank then on when you say they have bank
We
accounts.
we aim to be. So right now, we're not reinventing a lot of things, right? So the whole mindset of there's enough really good service providers out there. It's just to the point fragmented. How do we
Yeah.
be that connecting piece so that we make the movements frictionless?
Yeah.
All right. So the initial path that we're going down is getting the licenses that we need to do certain things,
Hmm.
partnering up then with the entities that we can on ramp, off ramp, trade, and use cards, like partnering up with them and then integrating
Hmm.
all the services together into a single simple platform. That's the motivation. That's the vision.
Nice.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you talk about, real ownership being a concept that's really central to pairs. Can
Mhm.
you elaborate on that and tell us why that's important?
Yeah. So exchanges, centralized exchanges have their benefits, positive and its negative. And the negative, I think we see it all the time, right? This exchange went down, that exchange went down. You know,
Hmm.
how do we use those exchanges for what they're good for, but then take back custody into the hands of the owners of the asset, right? So
Hmm.
building this going down this hybrid approach where the DEX for your trading, but more of a centralized feel on both fronts, on liquidity and in ease of use mentality. Um, and then touching on these centralized services, like so say if you want to top up your bank account or if you want to use your Visa debit card, you need centralized exchanges services where you're KYC for, right? There's no
Yeah.
getting around that.
Hmm.
In fact, I think DEXs at some point will get regulated to a point where you need to have certain licenses to operate a DEX. It's an exchange after all, right?
Yeah.
Um, and the people that I speak to on a daily basis are people that just want to trade DEXs for meme coins and whatnot, but they don't care to be hidden, right? They're not trying to hide these transactions or hide
Hmm.
the net worth that they're making on this. So they have no issues KYC and using an application. It's all coming down that pipeline anyway, right? So
Yeah. Hmm.
with that future thinking in place, how do we sort of set ourselves up so when it becomes a requirement, we just a turning on button? Um, Sorry, sidetracked. So ease of use, all in one single application. That's the mindset of what we're doing,
Hmm.
what we're
Yeah.
building.
Definitely. And I also saw that there's a profit sharing aspect of pairs. How does that model work?
Oh, so these exchanges make billions of dollars
Hmm.
a
They do
year,
quite
and
well.
not they do very well. And the people using these platforms don't really benefit at all out of it, other than the convenience factor, right? So how do we bring back the profits to the hands of the traders?
Hmm.
So essentially, from every transaction, there's obviously fees involved. A big chunk of that goes back into the community's hands, so they get distributed to the community. Mind you, this is not live yet. We're probably going live with this in the next couple of months.
Hmm.
We're on step 5 of our path, if that makes sense, right? We're in the first phase of
Yeah.
beta testing the deck. So
Hmm.
once we're out of beta testing mode, then we click on the profit sharing model where a percentage of the transaction goes into a pool and the pool's distributed amongst our user base or our traders essentially. And there's cool gamification that we're doing to it, right? So you're a trader, you make X amount of trades, you get a small piece. You build out your trading group. Um, there's an extra piece in there for you, an extra percentage or whatever it may be. But
Hmm.
what we can sort of gather at that point is we can um, publicly anybody could see like how well these trading groups are performing, and they can jump onto these trading groups, right? So this is where the AI and the education side comes in. Like, how does one learn how to trade? That's for one.
Hmm.
How does one learn about a project? So we can use all these AI tools to help them sort of educate themselves. Uh, because the biggest thing about this space is that um, financial education or trading itself is not something that's really taught, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
I used to be a trader on options and just in general. And it is a good 6 months of a learning curve to understand what you're doing, to be able to read, technical analysis, or just have a basic understanding of how technical analysis works, right?
Yeah.
Now, if we're able to give you that tool to learn a little bit,
Hmm.
your trading will be a lot more optimized.
Yeah,
So anyway,
definitely. Yeah,
again,
I love that there's an educational component. So what does that look like? You said it's integrated with AI, the educational aspect.
yeah, so we're building out right now a robo advisor that you can just talk to and basically ask them, what is Ethereum? Something so simple. What is the blockchain, right? Just these
Okay.
basic things that's
Yes.
everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And that alone is intimidating, right? If I was to tell you, hey,
Mm-hmm.
Lindsay, go look up what Bitcoin is, you're like, where do I even start?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, cool, ChatGPT is there, but imagine like your own personalized copilot.
Yeah. And like you said, all within one platform as well. So you're just not having to, yeah, go to multiple places. But yeah, I think that's such an important component when it comes to crypto and obviously trading is it's complicated and it's such a big ecosystem. So that's awesome that you have an educational component for the users. So on the trading side, I saw there's a batch protocol where you can bundle multiple trades into a single transaction. Can you talk to us a bit about that?
Yeah, we're not there yet. We're building this out. So that's phase
Hmm.
2 to phase
Okay.
3. Hopefully by the
Yeah.
end of this year, we'll have it ready.
Hmm.
Uh, but essentially, with DEXs, you've got to do each single transaction or trade each trade is a single transaction, right?
Hmm.
Um, and then you bundle in. I'll give you a good scenario, right? If I want to buy a couple of different assets sitting on Solana, and if I have ETH, right now the process is you've got to buy Sol, well, move it to a centralized exchange, buy Sol, move the Sol over to say your Phantom wallet, and then buy these different assets one at a time, right?
Hmm.
Um, Basically, what we're able to do is you have your ETH, you select what chain you want to buy the asset on, you select what assets you want to buy. It gives you the value proportionate to that, and then you hit execute. There'll be a couple of execute buttons because it's still pretty complex, but hit
Hmm.
execute, and then automatically ETH gets bridged over to Solana. Solana then purchases these different assets, and these different assets are now sitting in your wallet. Again, pretty much one single page, 2-second transaction process, and that's it. It's just that simple, right?
Amazing.
That's the vision. I feel I'm talking too much about it, but it's there. The white paper's out there, so it's kind of ready to be stolen. Let's call it that.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's one of the major functions on the batch protocol side, right? Making it simple, multiple transactions. Same with selling off different
Nice.
assets. If I want to sell off like 5 of my meme coins and top up my bank account,
Hmm.
it'll be done in a batch process. So that's all in one transaction.
Amazing. So super
But
efficient.
yeah, there's a lot that we're doing, hence I talk a lot because I can't just say, "Hey, we're just this desk," because it's a lot bigger than that.
Yeah, there's lots of different components. Is there anything that you're particularly excited about, whether it's like a feature or um, something from the user experience? What would you say?
Um, there's a few different things I'm excited about. One of them is these chains that are still coming up, like Dogecoin is building out their own chain. I'm going to talk about that for a
Oh,
second.
yeah, you were saying.
Um, Doge OS. So there's what $35 billion of Dogecoin floating around with no real home, and most
Wow.
of these are sitting on exchanges, and people are just self-custodying them.
Hmm.
Uh, the yield functions or the yield opportunities on Dogecoin is very, very minimal. So people are just like, man, I don't want to earn 0.5% and lock it up. It's not worth it, so I'll just sit on it, right?
Hmm.
Um, when these guys launch their chain, if they capture like 20, 15%, 10% even of that Dogecoin, moving it over to the Doge chain, that would instantly make it like one of the top 5 uh, blockchains out there.
Oh, wow.
So it's insane. Like people
Yeah.
are not aware of what's happening.
Huh.
Yeah,
Very
cover
cool.
that next time.
Yeah.
It's um, the guys who created my Doge wallet. They're the guys who are building out the Doge chain, and they've got some interesting backers. Um, yeah, that's something I'm super excited about because
Hmm.
going back to my days 11 years ago mining Dogecoin and then, seeing what's happening on this side, I'm like, okay, cool. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I bet. We'll definitely be watching that space then. What would you say, like, are there any common misconceptions about dexes or the concept of pairs when you've been describing it to people that you would like to address or that you've come across at all?
Yeah, I think one of the things would be um, there's already a DEX, so there's already a wallet, right? It's
Hmm.
like saying there's already a bank.
Yeah.
Um, it just, there's 8 billion people, right? There's
Yeah.
uh, somewhere, how much of that have we scratched the surface on with them adopting crypto?
Hmm.
Um, so in that sense, competition's good. It keeps everyone lean. It keeps everyone, fighting to offer a better product, and the products just evolve just because of competition. So I think it's very necessary that there's more products being released.
Hmm.
So that's one. The other misconception is that um, the design factor is still very complex, right? You look at all these dexes that are out there. I find it intimidating, and I'm a trader.
Hmm.
Um, so I'm going for the Google simplicity look. Just type in what I want to trade in that one little search bar, and then that it populates from there. Um,
Nice.
yeah,
Hmm.
simplifying this whole process, right?
Yeah, simplifying is definitely always good. And I think it's always interesting when because people talk about first mover advantages, but I always think of trains because the UK was the first to have trains, right? But now our trains are not the best because we were the first and they were great, but then everyone that followed after made better versions and they now have fast, efficient trains and we're sort of stuck with the old, slow, clunky versions. And so, when you get, you know, new projects launching, it's like, okay, yes, there are others in the market, but they're solving problems, so they tend to come out with solving new problems or adding new features that you then experience. So I think there's always something to be said about that. You do have a bit of an advantage because using existing products you can always see, oh well, this what can be improved, what can be iterated on. um, so, in terms of building pairs, what kind of challenges have you faced and how have you navigated them?
We face problems every day. It's just the nature of being in crypto. A lot of people
Yeah,
just hide it and say, "Yeah, no, it's great. It's great. Everything's going well. We just
yeah.
raised our money."
Hmm.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work because you've got multiple sides of a business that does not sleep. All right, especially when you
Hmm.
integrate a token into it. You've got a 24/7 business to run. So uh,
No pressure.
and that's the challenging part. People don't realize it takes a lot of like mental stress to make this work.
Hmm.
And then throwing a family in there, if you got kids and a wife,
Hmm.
that you've got to be able to multitask times two. Now, uh, I talk about having a token involved. So we've got our pairs token that's floating around. Uh, there are two sides to this as a business for the token, right? So you got to treat the token as its own business,
Hmm.
as its own marketing, its own team running a token, and then you've got to have your own team running the business side of things. Um,
Right.
yes, one kind of dictates the other's success to a certain degree. Uh, that's the correlation, but outside of that, they're two separate businesses, right? So now, if you got a 24-hour um, running a single business, you've got to be able to do that times two.
Gosh. Hmm.
My day starts tomorrow on Saturday morning at 3 o'clock in the morning. So like
Oh
it's,
gosh.
but you don't see that, right? You don't see
Hmm.
that. Builders don't not builders. Some of the builders talk about it, but the struggles of running a crypto company is it's like it's on crack. I don't know what crack
Right.
is, but I'm pretty sure it is because if you're running a
Yeah.
from my tech back days, right?
Hmm.
Um, this is like 50 times harder to run.
Okay. Right. And how do you deal with that? I mean, what's your approach?
To my point earlier, there's a little bit of a screw loose, I think, in all of us builders because you've got to be able to multitask three, four things at the same time,
Hmm.
and it's a relationship business, right? So you got to have a
Hmm.
relationship with the community. You got to have a relationship with the people working with you. Um, Managing that, it's a people management business essentially. I think at the end of the day,
Hmm.
to make sure everyone's happy. If they're happy, the community's happy. The community's happy, the token's doing well. Token's doing well, the team's doing okay. The team's doing okay, the community's doing okay. So it's like this
Right.
all
Yes.
interconnected emotional roller
Hmm.
coaster that needs to be on the ground, connected.
Yeah. All right. And then what about, your team? How do you keep them motivated? Like you said, when challenges come up or, when there's market volatility, how do you approach that?
There's always a light at the end of the tunnel, right? Companies go through good and bad times.
Hmm.
The bad times could be the community's angry, right? It'll blow over. You just keep focusing on delivering your product or your marketing or your promise, essentially. Deliver your promise. That's the biggest thing. All these promises are made in crypto. Focus on delivering on your promise. Don't give up. Because you see the community complaining, saying you're not doing enough. And you're there like, I was up at 3 o'clock, like, my kid's crying and I'm building this.
God.
Why am I doing that for? Right? You just got to push past that and keep building. I see a lot of people just giving up
Okay.
because it's kind of easy for them to give up and start something new again.
Hmm.
I don't know if you noticed. This whole space has bred. If it's not working, scrap it and start something new.
Oh, wow.
That's kind of mentality, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
And I think meme coins fuel that mindset. So instant gratification of, hey, let's do something, launch it, and then if it does well, great. If it doesn't do well, give up and start again.
Right. Yeah.
So that kind of breeds an other set of community members that just keep getting burnt too. So the effects
Yeah.
of that mentality hurts the ecosystem,
Hmm.
right? So, um, dude, this Solana meme coin run over the last year, oof, that was very interesting to watch. People just didn't really care about the projects; they only cared about the tokens. Which I
Hmm.
get, you want to put your $100 in and you want to earn $1,000. Um, but then what ended up happening? I'm giving you like a 2 minutes feel on how we got to like the space got to where it is right now, which
Hmm.
makes it harder for builders. So when you've got meme coin traders, um, kind of buying an asset and then getting burnt, the next asset they buy, they're not going to hold it with the potential of going 5x. When they double, they're out. So they take their
Okay.
profits and they're out. Now, what that does to a project as well is that kind of cuts the project at the knees, not even the knees, the
Hmm.
ankles, right?
Yeah.
So you built something good. Um, you see the token plummet because people are exiting and they're taking their profits, and then you kind of see this as, oh, it's dead, the project's dead, and you give up. So if we're not careful, it'll be this vicious cycle where we won't see any unicorns for a while. Probably one
Yeah.
or two, but it's not community-driven unicorns. It's, you know, money-driven that have a nice war chest that look, yeah, I don't care about the token. We're focusing on the business. So
Hmm.
anyway, that's my little
Yeah.
2 cents.
Yeah. No, it's good context though, because the stats, I saw some stats recently. I can't recall them exactly, but it was just the number of tokens there are now, or like meme coins, but then also the number of projects that have failed or are no longer here, that also just didn't exist, that sort of came on in the last year and then are no longer here. I mean, it was just it was just insane, like the percentage or the amount. So it really shows that churn and speaks to sort of what you're saying on that side of they're sort of popping up and then, yeah, if it's not working, they're moving on, or people are just waiting for the price to double and then moving on. So yeah, it does speak to the current, the climate of what's happened in that sense.
Yeah. It's kind of like this TikTok mindset, right? The scrolling. You're like, ah, don't like it, scroll.
Yeah.
Don't like it, I'm out of it. Don't like it, I'm out of it. Oh, I
Hmm.
made my 2x out of it. So like,
Yes.
damn,
Yeah,
it's hard for creators and builders. Yeah.
yeah, that's a good analogy. You just want that dopamine hit, that gratification, and then move on to the next thing. So yes, it's really hard to stick with it when you have that, I guess, that mentality, or you see that happening a lot. So from your experience, what advice would you give to other people building in the crypto space?
Um, Focus on building, right?
Hmm.
Okay, cool. You launch a token, you raise some money, just keep that going, but focus on building and following through on the promise that you made. You want to build a cool app, build a cool app, right?
Hmm.
Um, you set out on that journey, follow through. It's like your legacy, your reputation on the line.
Hmm.
Because that trust factor goes out the window, right? If I'm come to you, Lindsey, and say, "Hey, Lindsey, I'm building something really cool. Well, give me $100." Cool. Do that 2 times. The third time, like, forget it. This guy's a scammer. It's very easy
Yeah.
to fall into that trap. So just
Hmm.
build one thing. Um, Optimize. So what's his name? There's a really cool book called Zero to One. Peter Thiel wrote it. Peter Thiel? Anyway, one of the old PayPal guys, pretty sure it's Peter Thiel.
Hmm.
Try and do something that's not been done before in this crypto space, right? Don't just fork another chain or don't just create another DEX.
Hmm.
Add value, optimize, add value. And it's usually those one little niche things that you can build on top of something that's super successful. All right. Be
Hmm.
more creative. That's my advice.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And you mentioned that you see a future where DEXs are required to have licenses as well. How are you approaching regulation and compliance?
So because of the previous path I was on with the previous company, it was all around regulatory and licenses, right? So
Hmm.
taking that framework on, okay, you have the option to KYC on DEX. It's up to you if you want to do so or not. These features are not built in yet, but the
Hmm.
option is there, right? So ability to KYC. The other is, so when I say KYC, I'm saying these are all my wallets. I'm stamping like I own these wallets, kind of
Yeah.
a principle, right? Um, that's on the compliance side, not the KYC side. So compliance side is showing ownership of these wallets and proving ownership of these wallets. The second is just licenses to perform transactions, right? So not required right now on the DEX or the DApp side, but I'm going out and I'm prematurely saying this, but I've got a couple licenses in the US that should be done in a week. I've got a license in one of the African regions there, license in the UK that's in process. So
All
having all
right.
these licenses kind of sets you apart from the competition. I was looking at it from that point, right? Because
Hmm.
as soon as you have the movement of money, so if I'm, you know, offering IBAN accounts, even through a partnership or an integration, there's still licenses you're required to have to be able to onboard users on those features, right?
Hmm.
So that's the path that I'm going down. I'm on the licensing front, and this is long term, right? Someone who's looking to do this for a year, like just launch a DEX and see what happens, they don't really care about licenses. Licenses are not a priority.
Hmm.
Um, I'm doing it the other way around. People who are standing by the project knows and sees the vision of everything that we're building, for one, and the
Hmm.
licenses that we're going down. It's the hardest path in crypto to do. But again, it goes back to my point. I think there's a little bit of loopy in all us builders, so it's a fine line.
Hmm.
But for this to succeed, I think I need to do the licensing part and get it done right properly.
Hmm. Yeah, it definitely seems like that's the way things are going. And like you said, you'll be ahead of that curve competitively. So yeah, best of luck with all of those. Sounds like
Thank you.
lots of
So you were in Toronto, right, for Consensus last week?
yes.
Okay,
Hmm.
so one of the biggest announcements was Robinhood buying WonderFi, which is a Canadian entity, both publicly traded companies, but um, WonderFi is building out was building out this whole decentralized world. So um, yeah, Robinhood just bought them for like $250 million, which is kind of cool. An iconic
Yeah.
Canadian company getting acquired
Wow.
is a big step.
Yes,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah, and on that note, that was going to be one of my next questions. There have been just so many announcements, and in terms of traditional finance, the intersection of TradFi and crypto, how do you see that evolving, going ahead, and where does pairs fit into that?
So the premise of pairs is basically pairing centralized and decentralization, right?
Hmm.
So old school money with new school money, let's call it that.
Hmm.
Um, so what we're building as well is a full ecosystem where you can sell your meme coin and buy Tesla shares directly, one click, right? So pairing
Oh.
that, I think, is the direction that the whole crypto space is going into. Now, there's two
Hmm.
sides of this, right? So you've got crypto companies that are going TradFi, and you got
Hmm.
TradFi companies that are going crypto.
Yeah.
It's just funny to see where it intersects, and where you get now TradFi buying crypto companies and crypto companies buying TradFi. Right
Yeah.
now, it's you can see it in the news, like Robinhood WonderFi. There
Hmm.
was a few other purchases that sort of that came up, right?
Hmm.
Um, it's happening. That's the direction it's going in, and it's not going to be crypto and TradFi. It's just going to be finance at the end of the day.
Yeah. Hmm. I guess it will just all merge and come together. We had another guest on, and yeah, he was saying at one point too, saying that you're in crypto probably won't mean anything. Just sort of like back in the day when you said, "Oh, I work sort of with the internet," or, I work online or something, like that.
Yeah,
And now it's like, well, yeah, everyone obviously works with the internet. So it's interesting to think of a day like that where it's so integrated, it just won't even be its own sector anymore because it's just a normal part of life.
yeah. It's kind of crazy because so I did my whole crypto journey professionally. Like I wanted to get some certifications and stuff like that done. I did it at work, and when I was there, we actually deep dive into how credit cards work and how the financial system works and stuff like that. Like these
Hmm.
are all basic things that we're not teaching our kids. But yet when it comes to blockchain, like why everyone feels the need to know like, oh, how does a blockchain work? Or what is a hash? You know,
Yes. Yeah. I
like
know
wait, let's
it's
ask
yeah.
the other stuff first.
It is so interesting, and I ask that question a lot too because the first time I actually found out about how a credit card works was when I started working in crypto because it's like, oh, okay, well, how does the normal stuff work, and why is crypto different? And then I was thinking to myself, how did I not know this? Like, I use credit cards, debit cards every day, have no idea what's actually happening really behind the scenes. I mean, I know the gist of it, but not like the exact journey of how that transaction is processed. And I was just like, this is so interesting. There's so much that
Yeah.
we don't know of the technology that we use. But yeah, with crypto, yeah, I feel like you start by the mechanics, but I think maybe that's slowly changing and we're focusing more on use cases now. But it's like, yeah, absolutely. We don't need to explain it so to such a deep technical level, but that's sort of where things started.
Yeah, insane. Like I think if I recall right, there's 15 touch points on a credit card transaction on that journey from where it goes from you to the merchant, like to the person, at the shop. And after all those percentages are taken off, right? Like 2.5% up to 4%.
Wow.
Like that's a
Yes.
lot.
Yeah, imagining the bank explaining that to you when you go in and
Oh,
try and get a card. So there's going to be 15 different steps to
it's gonna
this.
go here, then here, then here, then here.
You'd be like, oh, I
Um,
don't know if I can use this.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, look, I think it's designed that way too,
Yeah.
for obvious reasons. But
Hmm.
anyway, um, yeah, I'm kind of excited to see this world evolve on the finance side. And I was in a little side note. I was in El Salvador in 2021, assisting with all the Bitcoin efforts down there when they were
Mm-hmm.
legalizing it as
Oh,
a tender.
interesting. Very cool.
Um, Bitcoin beach, little huts. They were taking Bitcoin back then. It's like
Wow.
these little kids were getting like rewarded in crypto for learning. Like, wow, that's
That's
kind of cool
awesome.
because I feel like these developing countries, right, just in general, are gonna skip out the learning curve, and they're gonna have access
Mm-hmm.
to all this technology, these movements of funds, this e-commerce world where they can just leapfrog ahead
Mm-hmm.
if they use it right.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It'll be interesting to see what happens with that. So, looking ahead, what are you excited about? What are you working towards with Pairs this year? Any big goals? What do you want to see happen?
Um, my comment earlier is on the licensing side. The
Hmm.
technology part's not easy, but it's it's fairly um, it's more achievable. The
Hmm.
licensing part is the cool is the value add, right? We're doing things the right way. That's what
Yeah.
I'm really interested in because to have a DEX that has an EMI attached to it, like an EMI is an electronic money institution license, like
Hmm.
that's baller.
Yeah. Totally.
That's what I want to do, right? I like
Hmm.
creating things and packaging it in the right way, and this is a part of that journey. Like I get a kick out of this. I get a kick out of like building something that has, lasting value, and to
Hmm.
throw in the mix of people um, getting a piece of the profits, and in the process. That's my sort of way of giving back too. So I like it.
Hmm.
Like that's what I'm excited about. That's what I'm looking forward to. Getting all that stuff done. It's a
Hmm.
long process. Jeez.
Yeah. Yeah. But exciting stuff though. Great things to be building and creating and working towards. And like you said, a great value add for users for sure. So before we wrap, is there anything that we didn't cover that you wanted to mention?
No, I think I mentioned I mentioned a hell of a lot, Lindsay.
Okay, good. Yeah, we did
Um,
cover a lot. I feel like we got a good overview.
but no, this was fun. Appreciate your time. This was great.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. It's been really interesting hearing all about pairs and what you're building. It's definitely a great offering for the space, solves a lot of issues. And yeah, especially love hearing about the how you're bridging CeFi with DeFi. It's definitely,
Pairing.
you know,
The
pairing, of
name.
course, yes, pairing. Yeah, it's definitely the direction things are moving in, and like you said, it will just come under finance one day. So
Yeah.
amazing that you're spearheading that.
Thank you,
So
Lindsay. This was great.
yeah,
I really appreciate your time and your ears. So,
awesome. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for coming on. All right. Well, that's it for today's episode of Token for Your Thoughts. If you enjoyed the conversation, be sure to subscribe and follow the podcast for more insights from the leaders shaping the future of crypto and Web3. We'll see you on the next episode.